I like how the prologue narration for this episode managed to explain the first episode in such a clear way. I mean, the previous episode was politically heavy and all over the place and had a shit ton of characters in our faces, but this episode's prologue made all those events make so much more sense than the episode itself. Nice one! I kind of wish there was just a little narration in the first episode now, but oh well. Whilst that episode was interesting in that it was very well animated and had a very political nature to it, this episode is much more straightforward in what it's trying to do. It's charting the developments of the two children as they go from being lost souls to becoming hardened youths. So in episode 2 of Mobile Suit Gundam The Origin, the children have now grown up into young teenagers, living with a guy who seems to be a baron who acts as their adoptive father. He doesn't seem like a bad man and the children have no complaints against him, but he seems very distant from all the politics of the world, or is it worlds, despite seemingly having some political influence. But evil is afoot as the children are randomly attacked during one night by a literal knight in shining armor wielding a fucking sword around, but the children and their adoptive father of course survive said attack and end up in Texas. No, not Earth Texas, Space Colony Texas. There the children meet Casval's twin, Shah. What the fuck? Either Casval and Shah are actually twins, or all that is a setup for some kind of plot element where Shah somehow dies in the next episode and Casval has to take his place for some reason. It can't be a fucking coincidence that those two look alike. Can it? Meanwhile, advanced mecha suits are beginning to be developed by the government on another space colony, of whom the citizens clearly hate on, as the citizens want independence from that government or something like that. Well, it's Gundam, so there had to be some mecha action in this episode, right? And everything ends with Artesia's family leaving her. How sad! And no, I'm not even fucking kidding, the sad parts in this episode were sad as fuck! So the animation yet again has impressed me. The high frame rate and high attention to detail made everything on screen look really cinematic, and the style of animation was very useful in defining the emotions of all the characters. And there is a lot of emotion in this episode. Now, I don't mind melodrama so much, and the melodrama here made the characters so much more human, dare I say. They all had feelings. Strong feelings. Casval in particular, who has emerged as the lead character for this episode, has a lot of silence moments, and the animation meant that I could tell what he was thinking during said silence moments, and there seems to be quite a bit of rage building inside him. I mean, Casval goes through quite a lot in this episode, and I can tell that he's very quickly becoming a super badass warrior. The action in this episode was well handled too. The part where the children got attacked, for example, that was one intense sequence. So yes, this was a more dramatic and more character-focused episode, which should come in handy as this means that I can actually care about the characters with varying degrees later on before the finale. At least I do care about Artesia, kind of. Casval, on the other hand, oh my gosh, he isn't exactly super likable. Yeah, sure, he was a badass in the beginning, but by the end of this episode, he's a cold-blooded assassin. Wow, I just love main characters that wouldn't hesitate to attack a random person in a bar for no valid reason. I'm guessing Casval will eventually enter the military and become a mecha pilot and perhaps finish what his real father started and give the citizens of that other space colony the independence they so badly want.